Number 10. Giants of Nevada. There is an ancient legend that says North America was once the home of a race of giant human beings. They were taller, stronger, and more ferocious than any other men on the planet. They also happened to have red hair and practiced cannibalism. It's quite a terrifying story, and ancient people would warn their children to beware the giants. The Paiute tribe has legends and stories that speak of these giants, as they claim to have had a tribal war with them. The clan of giants was called Siteka. They were notorious for capturing Paiute tribe members and then taking them back to feast on their flesh. According to the Paiute, this finally came to an end when they chased the giants into a cave, filled it full of flaming arrows, and suffocated and burned the giants alive. But just how much of this is true? Depending on who you ask, maybe all of it. The entrance to this particular cave collapsed a few centuries ago because of an earthquake. It wasn't discovered until 1911, 20 miles south of the town of Lovelock in Nevada. The Sunset Mining Company went into the cave to mine bat guano. During the mining, the workers discovered a series of artifacts that lent some serious credibility to the story of the Paiute and the giants. They even allegedly found 2 skeletons of humans that measured over 8 feet tall. If true, this would dramatically change history as we know it. It would confirm that giants really did walk among us. However, these skeletons inevitably vanished without a trace, and the cave was forgotten. So there is no way for modern archaeologists to either confirm or deny that they were ever found at all. Number 9. Coins from Atlantis. The mystery of the lost city of Atlantis may have just been solved after a researcher made a revelation analyzing a coin from 2,400 years ago. As you may already know, the mythical island of Atlantis was first described by Plato, the Greek writer. He claimed Atlantis was a nation unlike any other in the world, hugely advanced and insanely wealthy. However, Atlantis eventually fell into the Atlantic Ocean, and all trace of it was lost. Christos Jonis believes that a coin found over 2 decades ago could hold the secret of Atlantis' true location. The coin was discovered by Mark McManaman, a professor of geology. It was minted in ancient Carthage in the year 350 BC, with one side of the coin printed with an ancient map of the world. It's this map that has revealed the clue to the possible location of Atlantis. In the center of the map is the Mediterranean basin, and there appears to be an unknown landmass across from the geological formation known as the Pillars of Hercules. This is exactly where Plato described Atlantis as being, plus the coin was minted around the time that Plato was alive. The suggestion here is that people knew about Atlantis before it sank. It was basically common knowledge. Archaeologists still haven't found any trace of it in the Mediterranean, but its presence on the coin suggests it was definitely there. It could be that a powerful earthquake destroyed Atlantis so effectively that even with archaeologists looking at its exact location, they still can't see any leftover ruins of the ancient city. Number 8. Ancient ghost tracks. A series of ancient ghost tracks just discovered by archaeologists could force schools all over the world to rewrite their textbooks. These ancient ghost tracks are actually human footprints left in the dirt 23,000 years ago. They were found in New Mexico, and scientists say they prove that humans set foot in America thousands of years before previously thought. Until recently, archaeologists have been in agreement that the first humans arrived between 13,000 to 16,000 years ago. But thanks to these ancient footprints, scientists say it happened at least 7,000 years before that, maybe even 30,000 years ago. Since the footprints were found in their natural environment with no alterations, and their dating has been verified, this new discovery is unequivocal evidence of earlier migration to the Americas. This would explain many of the advanced early cultures found throughout the Americas, especially Central America and Peru. To be quite honest, this is the one discovery that actually does require history to be rewritten. There is simply no denying the physical evidence. And for a bit more background, you may be interested to know that after the earliest humans migrated out of East Africa, they spread across the entire globe. By 50,000 years ago, they had made it all the way to the southern coast of Asia and even to Oceania, around Australia. But since the Americas was so far away, it took them a much longer time. 30,000 years ago, when there was a land bridge between Asia and North America, groups of migrants likely crossed over. That land bridge vanished somewhere around 19,000 years ago, trapping this group of humans on the continent, where they eventually spread all the way to the furthest reaches of the Andes, the Amazon, and beyond. Number 7. Female hunters. When you think about the earliest hunters in the Americas, you might think of muscled men in loincloths with bows and arrows. But a recent study done by researchers at the University of California says that this could be a false narrative. In fact, everything we know about early hunter-gatherers may need to be reworked. For centuries, we've been taught that men hunted and women gathered. But when archaeologists uncovered the burial site of a female hunter from 9,000 years ago in the Andes Mountains, that story changed. It now appears that women may have participated just as much in the hunting as they did in the gathering. According to Assistant Professor of Anthropology Randy Haas, part of the reason why modern people view our ancient ancestors in these gender-segregated roles is because of the world we live in today. However, Randy says it's clear after multiple excavations in South America that have turned up female hunters that segregation based on sex may be a much newer invention and not something our ancient ancestors even thought about. In other words, separating work based on gender is not natural at all, but a cultural and modern invention. Number 6. Hallucinogenic cave drugs. In a California cave, researchers have found remnants of hallucinogenic drugs that may have been used by the natives of the land when they created rock paintings. Researchers have been able to directly link the use of psychedelics to artistic expression in the ancient world. Believe it or not, this isn't a new theory. Researchers have believed that hallucinogenic substances played a role in art for decades. They've always thought that the ancient people were inspired to create art after consuming these hallucinogens. But this is the first time that they've actually found physical evidence of it. On the ceiling of the California cave, the researchers found a pinwheel-type painting that they say depicts the psychoactive plant known as datura. And to make the case even more convincing, they also found the remains of the plant itself. Chewed up lumps of the stuff jammed into crevices in the ceiling of the cave. This goes to show that it wasn't the Beatles who did it first. It was actually the Native Americans. But there might be a different reason for the drugs and the drawings. Some archaeologists say the experts have it all wrong, and that the drugs weren't used to inspire paintings. Instead, some say the paintings may have been visual aids for drug-induced trips. What do you think about this bizarre discovery? Which came first, the art or the hallucinogens? Let me know in the comments below. Number 5. The T-Rex. Everything you thought you knew about the T-Rex could be wrong. A handful of recent discoveries by paleontologists have changed the scientific understanding of how this monster dinosaur hunted, lived, and even grew. The T-Rex was one of the most fearsome creatures that ever walked the land. But unfortunately, it went extinct with the rest of the dinosaurs 66 million years ago after an asteroid crashed into what is today Mexico. One of the biggest issues with the way the public sees the T-Rex is the way it was represented in the 1993 film Jurassic Park. What's really interesting is that at the time the movie was made, only about 7 skeletons of this dinosaur had ever been found. In the nearly 3 decades since the movie was released, scientists have found dozens more, helping to paint a much clearer picture of this incredible creature. Perhaps one of the most interesting recent discoveries is that scientists have confirmed the T-Rex was such a giant beast that it wasn't able to run. The dinosaur would never have been able to sprint after a moving jeep. It was so big that if it tried to run, it would simply fall over and hurt itself. This thing was 43 feet from its teeth to its tail, weighing upwards of 9 tons. It actually moved at about 3 miles per hour maximum. Another interesting fact is that young T-Rexes were covered in feathers, which they needed to stay warm and keep hidden from predators. Number 4. Ancient high-tech workshop. Archaeologists in Israel have just discovered the earliest evidence of a furnace being used by humans. This mysterious technology has been branded more sophisticated than anything else developed in the ancient world. And amazingly, it dates back 6,500 years. This shocking discovery was made in the city of Beersheba in the Negev desert. Archaeologists were excavating the city in 2017 when they uncovered an ancient neighborhood. Inside that neighborhood, they found a high-tech workshop once used for smelting copper ore. According to the researchers from Tel Aviv University, This ancient high-tech workshop employed the very first furnace ever built. This wasn't the most advanced furnace you've ever seen. It was a small installation crafted primarily from tin, probably used specifically for smelting copper ore. What makes the discovery so important to history is that during this period of time, known as the Stone Age, humans weren't really making copper tools. There have been copper implements found, but they didn't have a sophisticated way to do it. The furnace appears to be a fluke invention in a secluded part of the world, meaning that no other civilization on Earth even knew about it. Number 3. The Dragon Man. The fossilized skull of a creature that's been nicknamed the Dragon Man may be revealing new clues about how our ancestors transitioned from primitive monsters to the human beings we are today. In other words, this mysterious skull could be physical proof of the actual missing link. The skull of the Dragon Man was found near the Dragon River in China, hence the name. It dates back 140,000 years ago. Amazingly, scientists have been able to get a solid idea of what this individual looked like by analyzing his cranium. They say that this guy, as he was an adult male, had a very pronounced brow line. He also had a huge brain and a rather bulbous nose. But here's the part of the discovery that could rewrite history books. The experts claim that the Dragon Man is actually our closest relative, not the Neanderthal as previously believed. If this is ever confirmed, it will dramatically change what children are taught in school. Mention of the Neanderthal could be removed entirely, with children instead learning about how we evolved from a creature known properly as Homo longi. But it's not time to change the curriculum just yet. Researchers are still trying to figure out where this ancient human-like animal fits in on the evolutionary chain. Before Neanderthal, after Neanderthal, or from a different branch on the evolutionary tree altogether. Number 2. Nubian Superchurch. An ancient superchurch discovered in modern Sudan is changing our understanding of history in this part of Africa. This recent discovery was made in Old Dongola, the capital of ancient Makuria. This was once one of the 3 Christian kingdoms of Nubia just south of Egypt. The amazing part about the superchurch is that researchers say it's the largest of its kind ever identified in Nubia. To understand why this could change history, we need to go back in time. Old Dongola was a thriving metropolis for 1,200 years. It functioned from between the 5th century until the 18th century, at which point the city was abruptly abandoned. In medieval days, when the Nubian kingdom converted to Christianity, the city was at its most splendid. This superchurch was likely the seat of a powerful archbishop who governed the area. It was so big that archaeologists claim it had likely been used as the seat of power for the entire kingdom during the Makurian period. Whereas Nubia wasn't really considered to be a powerful Christian empire before, the size, splendor, and luxury of the superchurch suggests they were a much larger Christian powerhouse than previously imagined. The biggest mystery is trying to understand why and how they lost power, and basically went extinct in the 18th century. Number 1. Mysterious runes. A series of mysterious runic letters scratched onto a cow bone from the 7th century could change history. This discovery was made in a small village in the Czech Republic called Lany by a graduate student. The student uncovered the rib bone of a cow and immediately identified the strange markings carved on its surface as being made by a person. She couldn't figure out what the symbols were, but they were clearly man-made. The student's name is Alina Slamova, studying at the Masaryk University in Brno. She took the mysterious bone to her colleagues for additional analysis, and they soon realized that the carvings were Germanic runes, a type of alphabet used by Germanic people between the 2nd and 7th centuries AD. Carbon dating proved it to be 1,400 years old, from 600 AD. The reason this discovery could change history is that the bone dates back 200 years before the Slavic people in the area came up with their own language. One of the theories is that the carvings were made by a Germanic person living in the territory of the Slavs. Another theory is that the bone was inscribed by a Slavic person who had learned the Germanic alphabet and was practicing on cow bones. Whatever the case, it shows that there was at least some cooperation between the Slavic people and the Germanic, when history shows they were almost always at war with one another. Somehow, before learning their own language, the Slavic people from what is now the Czech Republic were taught to write with the Germanic alphabet. Thanks for watching! Which new discovery do you think will rewrite the history books? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button for more videos like these. See you soon. Bye.